Yeah, so I'm not a body expert, but yeah, I think this car looks like shit. Anyone who knows of my previous bodywork exploits, including an attempt to Rust-Oleum an entire Buick Riviera, knows that I'm not very good at it. But I still think I can do better than how this car looks currently with its spots of Bondo just kind of everywhere. So today I'm going to try and do something about that on a budget, clearly. For the most part, we just have these bits of Bondo and stuff that's already been sanded down that I'm assuming was covering hail dents, and who even knows what was going on over here. I have no idea why there's this much Bondo on the front bumper cover. My hope is that I can sand most of it off and get it back down to plastic, because the Bondo's not flexible. It's just gonna crack off. That's a terrible plan. This fender is going to stay the way it is. I'm not gonna fix this fender. It's money and a whole lot of time that I don't really necessarily want to spend on this car to replace the whole fender. I just kind of want it gone. Yep, another Bondo spot here. So this is where there was a whole bunch of dings that were already sanded down up in the A-pillar here from like people trying to get into the car or whatever because of their keys. I made an attempt at slathering some Bondo on there, which was kind of hard to do with the spatula, and yeah, we're gonna try and smooth that out. And then here, I did this off camera as well. There was already a whole bunch of Bondo filling this in, but it was like a patch. And I figured it was a patch because it was covering a rust hole or something, and it wasn't. It was just crash damage, and then this piece of metal here was all bent out. So I hammered that metal piece back and chipped off the patch, which was not covering anything, and it was like curling up at the edges. And then I just remixed and put some fresh Bondo on there. So we'll get this sanded down as well, and hopefully then it'll be ready for some touch-up paint. And for touch-up paint, I just went to local O'Reilly's that mixes their own paint and got Toyota 3P2 Bordeaux Red, or Bordeaux Black Cherry. And it's acrylic enamel, so decent stuff. I need to go back to O'Reilly's and get some acrylic enamel clear coat, because I completely forgot about that. I also got some scratch filler primer to hopefully smooth out the any sanding marks that I make. And then as far as the sanding goes, where is it? Is it back in the shop? Could have sworn I left it up here. There we go. A Harbor Freight polisher with a Harbor Freight 240 grit disc that is too large, but it's a cheap hook and loop thing. They didn't have one that was actually the right size, so I went with that one. So I'm gonna hit these spots, try and get them leveled, smoothed down, and then we can prime them and see how they look. That is really rough. Now myself and absolutely all my stuff is completely covered in dust. Imagine what my lungs look like. Looks like this was there was something there that was filled in definitely in the license plate holder screws. I don't know what the heck was going on over here, but there's a lot less Bondo now than there was when we started, and it's all fairly well blended, I feel like. Oh, that's rough as hell. It's like someone just took a screwdriver to level that out. I'll have to hit that, but yeah, all this stuff feels pretty smooth. Over here though, looks like I exposed a few voids, so I'll have to come back with some more Bondo and fill those in. and then of course sand it again, and then prime it. I did a few more rounds of adding Bondo and then removing Bondo with sanding, and now we've got a reasonably smooth surface. It's a bit sketchy once we get over here, but for the most part, this is all smooth. Oop, looks like I need to take that down, and there's some roughness there, but yeah, I'm just gonna mask off the tire here. It looks like I somehow Bondoed the tire. That should be good for puncture protection. Less good now that I removed it. Mask off the tire and hit this with some primer, and that'll really kind of let me see what the contour looks like, ish, sort of. I mean, again, the goal is to make this look good from yeah, about over here. Low standards. You got to keep your standards reasonable. It'll make life a lot easier. If I had any delusions of this looking good, they are certainly not there anymore. We've got all kinds of crazing and cracking kind of happening in the bumper and in the Bondo that's on it. No huge surprise there. I just kind of splattered some primer over all these bare metal spots so that it doesn't start to rust when I put the touch-up paint over it. I sort of hand sanded this edge here. It's still incredibly rough, but whatever. Mostly this is just an attempt to make it look slightly better when I put the not color match can over these already sanded down spots. This is actually turning out okay. I mean, it's not good, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. So I'm gonna give this like an hour or so, and then I'm gonna grab the color match can. I only have one of these though, and I think I might need more than that. I don't know. It depends on how well it covers, because it has to take that light gray white primer and take it all the way down to this, what do they call it? Bordeaux red sherry. Ooh. Also, it's windy out here and there's bugs out here and it's going to rain. So basically I need to get this all painted right now so that I can pull it into the shop. So I'm going to start trying to move things so that I can make that happen. I have to find a place for the Maxima and the Buick so I can get this back into the shop. Okie dokie. So I did a test here on the doors, and aside from the change in sheen and the fact that I didn't sand near enough, so this just kind of looks like absolutely scratched to hell paint, that's actually a decent color match there on the Bordeaux Cherry. And just to hammer home what my timeline is like on this, tonight it thunderstorms, and then I don't think it's warm enough the rest of the year to do any sort of paint work. So this has to be done within the next like 3 hours. So I'm going to hit everything with the color can, and then I need to go buy clear coat because I forgot to do that. And then I got to hit it with a clear coat. And kind of the idea here, and this is something I've been wanting to test, is that as long as there is paint on the car, you can make it turn out okay. If there's coats, you can wet sand them. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. I'm gonna get coats on the car and I'm gonna try to wet sand them. Obviously, some areas are just gonna be rough as all hell, especially, you know, I'm gonna try and hand sand that, hang on. This car is going to always be a 3 out of 10 body-wise, but have a little self-respect. Yep, that's about as much effort as I wanna put into that. Cool, let's hit it with some paint. My apologies for not showing as much of this as I could, but it really just looked like paint getting wet and then dry again. And I was really having to hurry because, oh yeah, it's actually down. We've lost the sun already. So, this is after clear coat. I did 2 or 3 layers of base, and then 1 tack and 2 heavy coats of clear. Too heavy in some places. I did get some drips, notably there and here on the A pillar. There they are. Very hard to see them through my viewfinder, but the color match could use work. I was really curious. I really just should have sprayed the entire hood, but I was really curious how well it would blend. But as you can see from this angle, yeah, the color match isn't great. Because, you know, the paint was on the car, it has 15 years of sun damage and fading going on. The bumper looks acceptable. I mean, you can still see all kinds of sanding marks and garbage. Fender, kind of the same deal. You know, prep was pretty poor. You can see sort of the damage that they were trying to hide. Looks like it was just hail damage, and it wasn't even really filled in with Bondo all the way. Yeah, there you can really see it from this angle. Who really cares? Whatever. The door looks actually great, and the rear quarter here looks pretty dang good as well. So, taken as a whole, from back here, it honestly looks fairly decent. And no, I'm not going to replace this fender. The car's not worth it. I don't care. Looks like a huge pain. Might not be a huge pain, but it looks like one. So, at this point, I think we're done. Now I gotta let this cure for a few days and then we will revisit this. But I've got a lot of mechanical work to do this car, and actually there's a few areas on this side that also need paint, but they're very, very small and I can just do them in the shop. I also need to paint the door handle, well, rear hatch handle right here. I gotta take that off and paint it, so that'll happen. What is going on here? That's weird. So that'll happen at some point, but now I gotta go throw this thing in the shop where it can dry and cure and be out of the weather that's going to hit tonight. Forecast looks terrible. I think for materials, I spent about $100 or so, most of which was paint. This is what I used for paint. It was mixed at O'Reilly's, and then for clear coat, Duplicolor wheel gloss clear coat. Reason I went with this stuff is because it is an acrylic enamel and not an acrylic lacquer. Most of the single stage stuff I could buy locally was an acrylic lacquer, and those never seem to harden all the way. That is the loudest plane. Bruh, calm down. The acrylic lacquer just never seems to harden up, and then it'll just kind of, you can polish it to a gloss, and then it'll just kind of matte out again. So I don't understand what's up with that. It happens every time, no matter how much I try to follow tutorials on how to spray Rattle Can Clear. But at any rate, that's what I used, because it comes out nice and thick, to the point where, as you can see, I got drips because it comes out so much thicker and quicker than the base coat. There it is, $100 bodywork on the, what was this, $800 Scion TC with a $300 transmission. This thing is for sale, hit me up. There's some mechanical things yet to do. It's got a code right now for the rear cat, a PO420, and another one for the evap system. Hopefully the evap one is fixed at this point, but other than that, it's a good running car, honestly. Just, yep, I need money. Thanks for watching.